Hi, this is Kevin Sharp from Kevin Sharp Outdoor Review, and today we will be reviewing the Sheffield gloves. I bought these gloves back in January. I've had them in my possession now for about 6 months, and I think I spent about $10 on them, which is a very good price for these gloves. I have been testing them and using them at my work and around the house every now and then when I have to do something, and they have performed very well. I bought these gloves initially thinking possible tactical roll, but that was probably ill-advised for tactical for this reason. All this red, it stands out like a sore thumb, and it just wouldn't work for tactical gloves. They do really good for work, just as a utility glove, just doing stuff, performing odds and ends jobs, stuff like that at work, where I tend to lift a lot of boxes and stuff. I'll throw them on when my hands are getting sore or something, or if I'm lifting pallets, wooden pallets and stuff, and want to keep from getting splinters stuck in my hands. They work very well for that, and they probably would work in a training role tactical wise, but I don't believe I would want the colorization for an actual tactical type of role. Going on now to the review card of the Sheffield brand gloves. Performance. Number 1, performance. I gave it a 9 out of 10. They have performed very well. They protect the hands, protect myself from being injured, getting blisters, splinters, whatnot, cuts. A whole number of things can be prevented by wearing gloves on your hands when you're doing different things. Also for shooting, even though I haven't really used them for that role as of yet. Number 2, value. And in this particular point, I gave it a 10 out of 10. These kinds of gloves for $10, you're not going to find them like that in hardly anywhere. So value-minded, you have to give it a 10 out of 10. I mean, I think the closest competitor to these gloves, in my opinion, are Mechanics. And Mechanics gloves are off the chain. They even blow these out of the water. They are probably the glove to compare all gloves to, but this brand is right behind it, and especially with the value point. I just wish they made these gloves in a different color, say a desert tan or an olive drab or black would be just fine with me with these particular gloves. They would work really well in that and with those colors. Moving on now, number 3, durability. I've had them for 6 months. I haven't had hardly any issues with them durability wise. No tears, no rips, anything like that. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 for durability. Number 4, for versatility, I had to knock points off for the colorization. That just doesn't make them as versatile as they could be if they were a desert tan or if they were an olive drab or just pure black. So I gave it a 7 out of 10 on versatility. Moving on to point number 5, compatibility. Same thing. I had to knock off points for the colorization because I can't use these gloves in a tactical type role or even a survival type role. I would use it in a survival type role before I would a tactical role. Yet again, knocking the points off to a 7 out of 10 for compatibility. At number 6, simplicity. Their gloves, all you got to do is put them on. Simplicity, 10 out of 10. They just don't get much simpler than that. Number 7, maintenance. There's not really much maintenance to them, so I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for that. I mean, if they rip, they rip. I mean, and I guess what you could do eventually is just cut the fingers out of them if you start, because usually that's where they start ripping at, right here at the fingertips. So I would just cut the fingers out of them and maybe sew the ends of them up and make a pair of fingerless gloves out of them and continue on, as with them in that row. So for maintenance, 9 out of 10. Number 8, theory of use. When I first bought them, like I said, my theory of use was possibly tactical gloves, but not anymore. Not with that colorization of red. I was in a fantasy land when I dreamed that I could use them for that. But in a utility role, and in a survival role, and even in a practice tactical role, these gloves would work. They would work because they're similar to other gloves. So theory, I gave these gloves an 8 out of 10. Pretty good score, even with the blood red. Number 9, speciality. Really with these gloves, they are a multi-role, but they're utility gloves basically, and that's what I use them as. So they don't really feel a specialty type role, but I still gave it an 8 out of 10 on that particular point. Number 10, likability. I gave these gloves a 10 out of 10. I really like the way these gloves fit. I love the way these gloves feel. They feel really good. The kids used them during a snowstorm, got them all wet. We brought them in, dried them out, and they still perform well. As you can see, there's no separation in any of the sewing to them or anything like that. So they perform very well, and I like them. I like the way they feel. So I give them a 10 out of 10. For an overall quality score of the Sheffield gloves of 87 out of 100, a solid B, solid recommendation, especially for somebody who's just looking for some gloves to work in. These are awesome. I really would recommend them. I don't know about highly recommending them, but I would definitely recommend them. In my reviewer notes, I wrote, great for work gloves. The material is a little thick, making the gloves hot. That is one of my gripes about them. They are very, very hot, especially now that it's gotten to be summertime and the temperatures have come up. They make your hands sweat. So, I mean, that's one drawback to them. That's where mechanics kind of shines. The material in them is a little bit thinner, and they just feel better during the summertime. That's, of course, the mechanics gloves, not the Sheffield gloves. The Sheffield's is a little bit thicker on this top end right here. As you see, they do have vent holes in the fingers, and that does help. But they're still a little bit warm during the summer. Moving on, let's see. I don't like the red color for tactical reasons, which I've already said. If I was Sheffield and I was going to tell Sheffield to do one thing with these gloves, change or make available different colors. Make an olive drab, make a desert tan, make them all black with possibly white lettering. And that would really up your sales on these. Keep them at the price that you got them, at about $10. I mean, you can't beat that type of value. And you know what? I'll live with my hands being hot. I mean, that's just me. I would rather pay $10 and get good gloves than I would pay $20 for a pair of mechanics. And, it's basically almost the same thing. So, only thing I would recommend, different colors, different colorizations. Take out that red for tactical reasons. But overall, great job, Sheffield. I cannot complain about your gloves that much. I mean, other than the color, I mean, come on. That's unbelievable. Great product. Really glad you make it. Please continue to make these gloves. They're really good. Thank you for viewing this review. I welcome your comments, but I ask that you keep your conversation civil. Remember the golden rule. I hope you have enjoyed this review, and I hope you will subscribe to this channel. Good day.